Okay guys, welcome back to another chess video. I'm recording this one straight after the other one, just because it's so short. I could actually have included this in the other one. So yeah, I'll actually give you a little bit of an idea of the opening we played, because this is not a standard one I play. Let's start with e4. So I'm playing as white, and I win this one. I'm actually playing against an opponent I played two weeks ago. So on the 14th, this is the 30th, by the way. 30th. This game was played on the 30th of March. I played the same opponent 2 weeks before on the 14th. Sorry, the 16th of March, 2023. But yeah, you'll see it's a very you can see how many similarities there are. So e4, e5, very simple open game. In knight f3, I'm wanting to go for Italian or Spanish. Roy Lopez. Doesn't really matter what we call it. But actually, my opponent plays a Petrov or Russian, depending on how you call it. This is mostly known as the Petrov defense. And this is not what I'm familiar with. I know there's a couple of tactics here, such as if my opponent were to do something like this, I can then attack here. And if my opponent was to play the silly idea of this, I can then take the knight, and they can't take back because of this. I can't. Yeah, they can't take back because they lose the queen, and they also. Yeah, this is just really bad for black. And if the black knight were to move, let's say to here, you actually win the queen, because this is check. If you block with the queen, it gets taken. If you block with the bishop, the queen gets taken. So you actually lose the queen. You can also block with other people. You can block with the knight. That just loses the knight and queen, so it's even worse. And you can't move the king because you have no square to move it to. These are all either protected by your own pieces or attacked. So yeah, that's some of the lines in the Petrov. I know you can also, since let's say a normal developing move like this would, after taking, I now attack. The knight is pinned, so this has to be defended, and they lose a knight. That's also a possible idea. So black doesn't want to move that bishop out. You can also move some other bishop. You can also do some other moves. Basically, it's very difficult with black after this position has occurred. I believe it's actually +1. It's not losing. This is actually recommended because the knight's pinned to the queen. This is kind of one of the recommended lines. I don't believe the Petrov is a solid or a sound opening. I believe it's one of the openings which you can play, but it's not the best in terms of what is possible. Yeah, but I play quite sillily or quite incorrectly knight to c3, and this allows my opponent to actually gain some. I don't know what to call it. Tempo, not tempo, but it's gain some more better chances against my defense. So now we can look at this position, and you can see it's very similar to a 4 knights Italian or 4 knights Spanish. A 4 knights Spanish would have the bishop up here. This is actually quite an equal position. The difference between this and the 4 knights Spanish is the bishop comes out on the 4th move instead of the 3rd move. In the 4 knights Spanish, the bishop would come out on the 3rd move, and then you would probably put knights out, and then very simple. You just keep playing. Basically, the idea is I have tried after the knight for this bishop for the knight, and allow black's pawn structure to be a little bit weak with double pawns, or it would be to move back after a6 and b5, making a weak queen pawn structure. Because now, yeah, you can probably see why. I don't like playing the 4 knights because there's so many different variations. and also because I don't. I think one of the reasons I don't like the four knights is because I haven't studied it that much. Because let's say you want to play the four knights Italian, but you play bishop to c4 in the third move. I should actually take the computer lines off. There's actually this taking. You can take here and here, and then black has this move. And there's two different ways you can solve this. There's this variation, and then black can probably go back if he wants. But yeah, this is quite deadly for white. There's also the variation where you can go back, and then the pawn gets taken, and then knight gets taken, and now black's up a pawn. If I look at it correctly. No, so it's equal. It's equal material, but black's up in development slightly, or maybe not. I'm not 100% sure. Look, the computer says equal position, but it's very dangerous to play this way. You don't want to fall into the centre fork trap with the bishop and the knight. That's why I don't like this kind of getting knight out to c3 this early. Because any time you see this kind of combination, you can go takes. You're sacrificing the knight, and you basically get a nice position, which is kind of cool. That's why I don't like playing with the four knights. Though I can play some other variations if I quite like knight to d2 instead of knight to c3 after bishop comes out, because then you can transpose it to the London, something like that. Not London. The one of the variations with the Italian. I think the Gucci piano. It's one of my favourite lines, as I mentioned. Yeah, but in this position, I play a3. The idea of a3, let's say I play let's say I play bishop b5 and bishop to b4. So kind of Spanish. I don't know what to call it. Basically, both players pin each other's knights. Then if let's suppose bishop takes c6, d takes c6, a3. And I didn't want to play this because if you take a look at the pawn structure, it's really awful. I isolate the pawn and double pawn. Yeah. I mean, it's winning only slightly for black in this case. But let's say I also played a3 to take the bishop away. Takes, and knight would move out of the way. And this is actually winning for white. It's very difficult to play just because again there's this double pawn structure. But now in this kind of variation, the queen would, be nice and open, and so would this bishop. And this pawn's now actually a free pawn, which is quite nice. And if black didn't move out of the way, then the pawn structure would be bad for black, because if you took, then they would have to take with the b pawn, because otherwise they would lose castling rights. After d takes c6, queen takes d8, king takes d8. And then, knight takes e5 is quite bad for black. But there's some lines that I know of, quite fun. But what was played is a3, and now bishop to c5. And now, if you look closely, you can really see a very similar structure to one of the variations of the Italian. Called the fried liver. Fried liver is when white plays pawn forward, bishop out here, knight out to f3, and where bishop on c4. And the idea behind it, after knight to g5, is attacking the f pawn with the bishop and the knight. Of course, there are some solid counter defenses for black, but if black, let's say, were to play randomly, then the pawn on f7 would fall, and the fork could be potentially dangerous, very dangerous for black. And also, there's very high chance of black losing castling rights if bishop were to take. So this very similar to the fried liver in terms of the f pawn being attacked, and that's why I play h3 to stop any move here with the knights or the bishop. in this case, I could have also played something very similar to the Spanish with bishop to b5. But then, yeah, if you consider this, again, this pawn's under attack. Computer recommends in this case castling, and let's suppose that black did trade off pieces. This is actually a lot better for white. It's actually +3, just because of the positional value. You're actually up 2 pieces. Hang on. Yeah, you're up 2 pieces of material. But you're down a rook. Yeah, that's it. So it's equal in terms of material, but you've got more minor pieces, so you're more likely to win. Because a rook and a pawn for 2 minor pieces can be a good trade in some cases. In this case, it wouldn't be, because, yeah, you don't have an attack. But, yeah, I mean, it's the same material value, but in terms of attacking chances, you're better with a knight and a bishop. d4 could also be played, like, if you know the main line of the fried liver, it's what could be played. But then knight a4, knight takes d4. I'm not really sure after this. Very difficult to play, to be honest, because you don't want this fork, and this. I mean, this is a really inaccurate way of playing, because that actually it's actually quite dangerous for this pawn's a passed pawn, not passed pawn. Sorry, it's a very dangerous pawn. Because it's defended twice, and then. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to play against this, to be honest. That's why I didn't go for it. So h3. However, if you take a look at position, I played 2 flank pawn movements in the first 5 movements of the game, which is actually really slow. In this position, it's actually negative 0.6. So black's slightly winning, but only if they can convert the advantage. What's played is d6, and the idea is just to open up the bishop this split match. However, the bishop can't actually go anywhere except from e6 because the other places are protected. And again, very similar to the other game, probably taking that's not a good idea. Yeah, so bishop to c4, and now if you take a look closely, you might think, oh, but then you got this position again. You can do the centre fork trick, can't you? No. Let's say if knight did take on e4, knight takes e4, you're thinking centre fork trick, yay! But your bishop's hanging on c5, so you lose a bishop, and you lose a bishop. However, now black is up a knight for a pawn. White's up a knight for a pawn, so white's going to win. Definitely, pretty much, there's like a 99% chance white wins. So this centre fork trick does not work when the bishop is either on c4 or c5 because it's hanging once you do the trick. So that's why I didn't play it. That's why it probably wasn't played. My opponent castles kingside or short castles, not it's 0-0 as it's notated. d3, yeah, same idea as d6, opening the bishop up. You can actually see it's a very symmetric position, except from these pawn movements and the castle. It looks these centres symmetric. It's got a symmetric centre. e5 is played, and now this is the first move where I thought, yeah, I mean, it doesn't change the evaluation because it's the evaluation's exactly equal. I thought it was slightly inaccurate because let's say the idea is to attack the bishop. You would want to play a6 first, a6, bishop e3, and then b5, and now this bishop has to go away. And now you can just trade off pieces, allow this double pawn structure, and kind of black could probably convert. Black could probably be winning here, I think. Yeah, black's very slightly winning, very slightly. The computer says equal, I think. The computer thinks they equal eventually. But it's very difficult to decide what to play here. However, a5 I thought I didn't know what it was about. I thought since you play a5, now you can't push b5 because there's no pawn on a6 to protect it. So that's what I probably thought. Bishop to g5, and this is a really good move. Even though the position is still equal, this pins the knight to the queen. Very strong move. Now I was expecting h6, just to push my bishop back, and then and let's say g5 was played, then I could have also sacrificed on my knight on g5, and then I'll show you. I'll show you so you guys don't have to visualize it. Let's say this was played. I can then sacrifice my knight. Now this king's open, so this king's now very dangerous, very open to attack. And after, let's say, let's say black displays a random move, bishop to e3, bishop to e6, attacking the other bishop. Very simple move. You could play what I played in the game. You could try and go for a rook trade. Not rook trade, a rook lift, or you could lose the game by taking the bishop by taking this, because this square is protected by the bishop. So you don't want to take you don't really want to take the knight, even though it's equal, even though you are still out material, because then the queen becomes active. You don't want that. So you don't want to take the knight. You just want the pin, because then the queen has to protect the knight. Otherwise, black loses the knight. So yeah, so that's probably the idea I was going for here. I could have also gone back with the bishop, but yeah, I mean, I didn't want to go back to e3, of course, because double pawns, and going back to either of these two would have been passive. So that's I mean, this is what I was thinking about during the game. But b6 is played, and this is a really big mistake. The idea is probably to get this nice triangular pawn structure, and while also having nice pawn structure to protect the king. And you can see it looks nice. It looks aesthetic. But what does it do? You've got a backwards pawn behind two pieces, so that's not going to move in the next couple of moves. Your queen is stacked behind pawns. Your rooks are stacked behind pawns. Your knight can't go anywhere. Your queen can't go anywhere. Your bishop can't go anywhere. Your pieces are pretty much just stuck, and this king is actually stuck behind its own pawns. You thought protection, but it's stuck, like strangulation. Yeah, so h6 would have been better, I think. In my opinion. Or yeah, the computer recommends h6 as well, so it does like that. But after b6 was played, I saw my opportunity to get the outpost on d5, and this is a move which I expected. I wanted to play this move, and once I saw b6, I went, yeah, I play it. And compared to the amount of time I usually spend on a move, this move took me 4 or 5 seconds to play. I think a bit more, sorry, but about 20 seconds, I think. But yeah, on my time here is about 45 minutes, so I'm playing a bit faster than I usually do. Or maybe it's slightly more than that, but I'm definitely playing a lot faster than my usual time. But it's probably because I'm confident, so hopefully I don't make any mistakes. But I think the idea, I think actually one of the reasons I am playing fast is because I know that I am probably more likely to win, even if I do make a mistake, because my poor performance of my opponent last time, and I'm not trying to be too critical, but my it's kind of like just human intuition, kind of, because I actually I'm going to get away from that talk because I don't like that. But anyway, I also saw some other ideas in this situation. So let's say if black had played, let's say, rook to f e8, then I was considering moves like bishop to de5, bishop to b5. The idea behind this bishop to one of these ones is now this is pinned, and that actually loses the knight. And again, yeah, now this knight's actually hanging because it has no protection. So then possibly an idea is like this, or if I was looking at this side, basically I wanted to attack the knight, but I thought this outpost was better for the knight instead of the bishop. Yeah, it was, and I thought, yeah. Now, if my opponent had been very, or I don't know what to call it, not paying attention and would have taken a knight, let's say knight takes d5, you can see the queen's hanging, so I just take the queen. Very simple. So that means the pin on this knight is very strong. My opponent plays bishop to e6. The idea is to attack the knight, attack the bishop, wanting to probably remove attackers. However, it's too slow because knight takes f6, check, and g takes f6. If the queen would have taken, yeah, you can see what would happen. Bishop takes queen, and pawn takes bishop. Very weak kingside. Lost the queen. You're even more likely to lose. But yeah, actually, if you take a look at the opening, my opponent plays a lot better than they did play last game. But I think one of the mistakes here is allowing the outpost of the knight on d5. That was probably a mistake because it allowed me to win, and actually allowed me to destroy the king's pawn structure. And now with the move bishop to h6, the king is now stuck here, and the rook's under attack, so you have to move the rook out the way. Rook e8, and knight h4. And now we're reaching the end of the video, and you might be thinking, what? I mean, it's only +4, +5 for white. How can it be so close to the end? Yeah, knight h4 is played. The idea on knight h4 is just to add more attackers to the king, wanting to have a nice, easy checkmate, and f5. And now I actually missed f5. I didn't think f5 was so incredible, but actually, even though it doesn't equalize the position, it does create some counter attack on the knight. Now my opponent has to play really accurate here, because if they play inaccurate, there's a possible checkmating threat. However, I'm also showing some other ideas in this situation. King h8, just to make the king safe out of any attack on the g file, and actually sacrificing a rook for a bishop, so that bring down the exchange. I mean, black's probably going to lose anyway, but to be honest, this just because the attack is so strong, the rook not doing anything compared to the bishop, it's actually fine trading it. It's still +3, which is interesting, because the good piece has gone for the bad piece, even though they're very similar value. And then this is how it would have continued if this was played. You're thinking, what does rook g8 do? Yeah, it's one of the recommended computer moves actually, or at a low level. But queen to d8 also likes, the computer also likes for some reason, or a4. I would have probably played a4 or b5, something like that. The idea is to not lose the bishop, because yeah, if this takes and this takes, yeah, now your bishop's under attack, and your queen's under attack as well. So it's actually a discovered attack, which is even fun. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, after f5, some other, I played knight takes f5, and my opponent didn't expect that. My opponent expected me to play a random move and be able to take my knight. And let's say I took my opponent and take my knight, and it goes from +4 to -5. So very strong. And yeah, this bishop's now being attacked, so it has to move back. Now there's no attack on the king, even though the pawn structure is quite bad. Now black has the counter attack, and I could of course trade off bishops if I wanted to, but that was probably not what would have been. That's not what black would want. I think black in this situation would have been winning if I had allowed my knight to be taken. However, I saw once this move was played, I saw, oh no, the queen's attacking the knight. I have to do something, and I thought about this, and this move here. I was looking at what happened if I played knight to d2, and I thought maybe it's a possible idea. And it actually does remove checkmating threats, because I now can't go here because of the bishop. So that's why I went knight h4. I wanted to threaten this bishop. I mean, you can see it's not threatening the bishop, but I kind of wanted to. Even though I didn't see f5, I wanted my opponent to block their own bishop in, which I thought was actually quite funny. I just realised that now they've blocked their own bishop in. So yeah, I honestly didn't expect what would happen. Knight takes f5, f6. And now I'll let you guys figure out what the mate in 2 is. And honestly, it's quite easy. Queen g4 check, king f7, and queen g7 checkmate. And if king goes to h8, still the same, it's checkmate. So that was f6. The best move in this situation was bishop takes f5, and this probably would have been played. And trading off queens, it's still +5 for white because the white's pawn up in times of material, but this bishop's so strong, it's like a rook, and this bishop's so strong, it's pinning the pawns of the king. So now if the king moves out of the way, the pawn's gone. Yeah, so now this is quite winning for white, because any of these pieces here are not active. They're not doing their job properly. You can kind of threaten this fork, but yeah, white can still castle. Yeah, but it's very difficult to play once you're down the position. And also, we can take a look at what happens if the bishop takes. What do you think happens if the bishop takes? Oh, there's mate in 2, isn't there? Or mate in 3, actually, because the queen can block as well. It's it's a very fun game. To be honest, I quite like the game. It just really, I just didn't. I mean, I really expected my opponent to notice that there was a checkmating threat here, and probably because if you take a look at if like I mentioned, this bishop was defending this square, but this move blocked it, and I think my opponent didn't notice that, or maybe they forgot or something like that. But it was quite underwhelming, this checkmate, to be honest. And I honestly didn't expect from this position, I think. I think the takeaway from this is don't push your flank pawns unless you're fully developed. In this case, you're not really. These pieces can't go anywhere. Now, actually, you can't really push anything. If you push this, it's been taken. If you push this, it can be taken. You can also be taken by the bishop as well, and you got a nice pin. Yeah, so this can't be pushed. this can't be pushed. And I mean, you could play h6. But yeah, this is such a move. It's not like a it's not easy. I mean, to be honest, I think that was probably the only big mistake my opponent made. Because afterwards I just transferred it. Also this mistake was also probably. But you can see how one or two mistakes in one game just leads to defeat. And this is, I would say this is kind of one of the problems with chess. If you don't know what you're doing, you're pretty much always going to lose. If you're playing somebody who also doesn't know how to play, then yeah, of course you can win. But if the rating difference is too big, there's a really low chance of you winning. There's a calculation for it. If I think something like a difference of 400 elo gives the opponent, let's say you're 400 elo above, you're 4 times as likely to win or something like that, or maybe like 99%, something like that. I'm not 100% sure what the calculation is, but I know, yeah. I didn't also know what my opponent's rating was either. So maybe they were the same level, but also they missed some things as well. I'm not really sure. Also, take a look at how I haven't castled yet. So yeah, I don't know. Also, I did play another game. I'm kind of continuing this for a bit too long now, aren't I? Yeah, but I did play another game that day against somebody else, and I also won that because they actually made more blunders than this person. So maybe I was just lucky on that day. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, it's been very nice to just talk about what happened. I think nice, like a therapy session. Yeah. So yeah, nice. Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe, like, do whatever you want. Give me some feedback. I should probably stop talking about the social part. Maybe I could still keep talking about it. If anyone wants to challenge me, of course, you can send me a link on chess.com. Links in the description of my username for both chess.com and live chess and everything else you need. So take a look there and have fun. Have a nice day. Do whatever you do best. Bye.